The security cameras captured everything, but Jin rewound the footage 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. A black woman, in his compound, cleaning his private study. Who authorized this? His voice cut through the morning briefing. 6 of his lieutenants straightened in their chairs. The agency sent her yesterday, Hyunwoo**, Park stammered. Your regular housekeeper quit after. I don't care why. I care that no one consulted me. Jin's fingers drummed against the table. In his world, unfamiliar faces meant threats. Background check. Clean. American passport, work visa, references from 3 families in Gangnam. Jin watched the screen again. She moved efficiently through his space, dusting shelves without disturbing the exact placement of his books. Professional, almost too professional. I want her gone by tonight. But when Jin returned to his penthouse that evening, the woman was still there, folding laundry in his bedroom with a small boy sitting cross-legged on the carpet, coloring. Excuse me, Jin's tone was ice. This is a private residence. She turned, and for a moment, he forgot his irritation. She was striking, light brown skin that seemed to glow in the lamplight, natural hair pulled back in a neat bun, eyes that held something he couldn't quite read. Wariness, maybe, or recognition. I know, she said in Korean, her accent American but clear. Your assistant said I could bring my son on Fridays. The agency approved it. My assistant doesn't make those decisions. I do. The boy looked up, clutching his crayon. He had his mother's eyes. Ade, keep coloring. Her voice softened when she spoke to him, then hardened again when she met Jin's gaze. I can leave, but the agency said you needed someone who could start immediately, and I'm the only one who was available. Why? Why what? Why were you available when everyone else wasn't? Something flickered across her face. Does it matter? It did. Everything mattered in Jin's line of work. People didn't just appear in his life by coincidence. What's your name? Amanda. She set down the shirt she was folding. Amanda Wright. You have 1 week, Ms. Wright. 1 mistake and you're gone. She nodded once, sharp and controlled, like someone used to taking orders. That bothered him too. Amanda kept her head down for 3 days. She arrived at 7, left by 6, and spoke only when necessary. Her son stayed quiet in whatever room she was working in, always coloring or reading, never making noise. Too well-trained, Jin thought. 6-year-olds weren't naturally that silent. On the 4th day, Jin came home early and found her in his office. What are you doing? His hand moved instinctively toward the concealed drawer where he kept his gun. She didn't flinch, cleaning like I was hired to do. This room is off limits. Your assistant didn't mention that. She picked up her supply caddy. I'll remember. As she walked past him, her sleeve rode up and Jin saw it, a tattoo on her inner wrist. 3 small characters in Hangul. Kopusen enos, koendan enos. Busan safe. His blood went cold. Stop. The word came out harder than he intended. Where did you get that tattoo? Amanda's expression didn't change, but her hand moved to cover her wrist. It's personal. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. She was at the door when he spoke again. You know what I am. It wasn't a question. She paused, her back still to him. Yes, she said quietly. And you took this job anyway. I needed the money. She glanced back at him, and for the first time he saw something raw in her face. Desperately. Before he could respond, Ade appeared in the doorway, tugging at his mother's sleeve. Iyama *, I'm hungry. Amanda's whole body went rigid. Jin's mind raced. Iyama *, mother, in Korean. Your son speaks Korean, he said slowly. He picks things up quickly. That's not something you pick up from television. She lifted her chin. We should go. Not yet. Jin moved between her and the exit. Who taught him? That's not your concern. Everything in my home is my concern. He stepped closer, close enough to see the pulse jumping in her throat. Who taught him? Amanda's composure finally cracked. His father, all right. His father taught him. Where is he now? Dead. The word came out flat, final. He died 3 years ago in Busan. The room tilted. Busan? The tattoo. The dialect he'd heard her use once when she thought he wasn't listening. Sharp Gyeongsang vowels, not the Seoul standard she usually spoke. What was his name? Jin's voice came out rough. She looked at him for a long moment, something like grief and anger warring in her eyes. I should go, she whispered. But before she could move, Ades spoke again, this time in rapid Korean with a perfect Busan accent. Iyama asterisk, you said we could get S-Sayat Hadiok on the way home. You promised. Amanda closed her eyes. And Jin knew. The boy wasn't just speaking Korean. He was speaking home asterisk, the specific, unmistakable Busan dialect that Jin himself had grown up with, the one his organization controlled, the one that marked you as family or as dead. Ms. Wright, Jin said softly, dangerously, I think you and I need to have a very long conversation about why you're really here. Amanda's hand found her son's shoulder, protective. Maybe we do, she said, but not tonight. Tonight, Jin insisted. Now, or I make one phone call and you never leave this building. She went very still. Then, slowly, she knelt down and whispered something to Ade in English. The boy nodded and went to sit on the leather couch, pulling out his coloring book. Amanda stood, met Jin's eyes, and spoke in flawless Busan dialect. You want the truth, fine, but you're not going to like it. Try me. Your brother, she said, and watched his face drain of color, was the father of my child. Jin's brother had been dead for 4 years. Shot in a territorial dispute in Busan, 27 years old. Jin had burned down 3 buildings and killed 11 men in retaliation before his father stopped him. Hyunwoo never mentioned a woman, Jin said, his voice deadly quiet. Especially not an American. He wouldn't have. Amanda's hands were steady, but her jaw was tight. We kept it secret. He said it was safer that way. Safer for who? For me, for Ade. She glanced at her son, still coloring obliviously. Your world doesn't exactly welcome outsiders. Jin's mind was racing, calculating. If she was lying, she was good, too good. If she was telling the truth, this changed everything. Prove it. Amanda reached into her bag slowly, watching his hand hover near his waistband. She pulled out a phone, tapped the screen, and handed it to him. The photo showed Hyunwoo, younger, smiling in a way Jin had rarely seen. His arm was around Amanda, her head on his shoulder. They were at Gwangali Beach. Jin recognized the bridge in the background. She looked maybe 23, 24. Happy. Jin swiped. More photos. Hyunwoo teaching Amanda to eat jjajangmyeon asterisk. The two of them at a noribang. Amanda, heavily pregnant, Hyunwoo's hand on her belly. And then one that made Jin's breath catch. Hyunwoo holding a newborn with Amanda beside him in a hospital bed. The baby had a shock of black hair and was wrapped in a blue blanket. He was there, Amanda said quietly. When Ade was born, he stayed for 3 weeks, then said he had to go back to handle something important. Business, he said. Her voice cracked. He promised he'd come back. The territorial dispute. Jin's throat was tight. I didn't know he was dead for 6 months. He just stopped answering, stopped sending money. She took the phone back. I thought he'd left us. Then I saw the news article. Korean man found dead in Busan, suspected gang violence. They didn't release his name, but they showed his picture. Jin sat down heavily. Hyunwoo had been reckless, emotional, everything Jin wasn't. Their father had always said it would get him killed. But a child, Hyunwoo had a son. Why come here now? Jin's voice was hoarse. Why work for me? I didn't know it was you. Amanda's laugh was bitter. The agency just said wealthy family, tight security, good pay. I needed the work. My visa's expiring, Ade's getting older, and the money Hyunwoo left ran out 2 years ago. You expect me to believe you took a job in the home of a asterisk mafia boss, by coincidence. I expect you to believe I'm desperate. She met his eyes. Do you know what it's like raising a half-Korean child alone in America? The questions, the looks. Ade asks about his father every day, and I have to lie because the truth is his father was killed by people in the same business as his uncle, an uncle he doesn't even know exists. Don't, Jin stood abruptly. Don't call me that. Why not? You are. Like it or not, your brother's blood runs in my son. They stared at each other, the air crackling with tension. Ade's voice cut through it. Iyama asterisk, I finished my picture. Wanna see? Amanda's expression softened instantly. Of course, baby. She walked over, and Jin watched as she knelt beside his nephew, asterisk his nephew asterisk, God, and admired the crayon drawing. It showed 3 stick figures, a woman, a small boy, and a taller man with what looked like angel wings. Is that Daddy? Amanda asked gently. Ade nodded. He's watching us from heaven, like you said. Something twisted in Jin's chest. Ms. Wright. Amanda, she interrupted. If we're doing this, call me Amanda. Amanda, he forced himself to focus. I need to verify everything. The photos, the timeline, all of it. I expected nothing less. Until then, you don't leave Seoul. You don't contact anyone outside the city. You don't. I'm not a prisoner. You're the mother of my brother's child, Jin said sharply. In my world, that makes you a target, if my enemies find out. They won't. I've kept this secret for 6 years. Secrets have a way of getting out. Jin pulled out his phone. I'm assigning you a security detail. Absolutely not. It wasn't a request. Amanda stood, anger flashing in her eyes. I didn't come to Korea to be controlled by another man who thinks he knows what's best for me. Another man, Jin caught the slip. Who else? She went very still. Amanda, who else tried to control you? It doesn't matter. But Jin was already thinking, already connecting pieces. Someone knew about you and Hyunwoo. Her silence was answer enough. Who? Jin's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. Who knew about my brother's family? Amanda looked at Ade, then back at Jin. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Your father. The world tilted again. That's impossible, Jin said. My father would have told me. Would he? Amanda's smile was sad. Hyunwoo said your father hated that he fell in love with a foreigner, said it was a weakness, a liability. Jin's father had died 2 years ago, heart attack in his sleep, or so they'd been told. When did you meet him? Once, when Ade was 2 months old. Amanda's hands trembled slightly. Hyunwoo brought us to Korea in secret. Your father came to the apartment, took one look at me and the baby, and told Hyunwoo to end it, to pay me off and disappear. And? Hyunwoo refused. We fought. He said he'd make it work, that he'd convince your father over time. She swallowed hard. 2 weeks later, he was dead. Jin felt cold. You think my father? I don't think anything. I don't know what happened that night in Busan. Amanda's eyes were fierce. But I know your father visited me one more time, after the funeral. He gave me money and told me to go back to America and never speak about Hyunwoo again. For my safety, for Ade's safety. How much money? 50 million won. Jin's jaw clenched, and you took it. I had a 2-year-old and no job. What choice did I have? She was right, and he hated it. There's more, Amanda said quietly. Your father said if I ever came back to Korea, if I ever tried to contact your family, there would be consequences. He said you were being groomed to take over, and you couldn't afford distractions. So why risk coming back? Amanda's composure finally shattered. Because I'm out of options, the money's gone. I can't renew my visa without proof of employment. Ade starts school next year and I can't afford it. I thought enough time had passed, that maybe I could work here quietly, save enough to give us a fresh start somewhere else. And instead, you ended up working for me. Instead, I ended up working for you, she echoed. Ade appeared beside his mother, tugging her sleeve. Iyama asterisk, why are you crying? Jin saw the tears on her face for the first time. I'm fine, baby, she wiped her eyes quickly. Just tired. The boy looked at Jin with Hyunwoo's eyes, dark, intelligent, suspicious. Are you making my asterisk Iyama sad? Jin didn't know how to answer that. Amanda stood, gathering her things. We should go. Wait, Jin's voice came out rougher than intended. Stay here tonight. What? If what you're saying is true, if my father really threatened you, then someone in the organization might still have those orders. Until I sort this out, you're safer here. I don't need your protection. Maybe not, but he does. Jin nodded toward Ade. My nephew does. Amanda's breath hitched at the word. One night, Jin said. Let me make some calls, verify your story. If you're lying, you'll wish you'd run. If you're telling the truth. He paused. Then we figure out what comes next. Amanda looked at her son, then at Jin. One night, she agreed. But as Jin showed them to the guest room, his phone buzzed. A text from Park. Hyunwoo, we have a problem. Someone's been asking about an American woman and a child. They know she's in Seoul. Jin's blood ran cold. He looked at Amanda, who was tucking Ade into bed, completely unaware. The past hadn't stayed buried after all. And now they were all in danger. Jin deleted the text and stepped into the hallway, dialing Park immediately. Who's asking? We don't know yet. The inquiry came through one of our informants in Busan. Someone's offering money for information about an American woman, late 20s, with a young boy. They mentioned she might have ties to the family. Jin's grip tightened on the phone. How much are they offering? 10 million won. That wasn't random curiosity. That was serious money. Find out who. I want a name by morning. Jin glanced back at the guest room door. And Park, keep this between us. No one else hears about this. Understood, Hyunwoo. Jin ended the call and found Amanda standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable. How much did you hear? He asked. Enough, she crossed her arms. Someone's looking for us. It appears so. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Amanda's voice shook slightly. This is why I stayed away for so long. Did anyone know you were coming to Korea? The agency, my landlord in New York, Ade's babysitter. She paused. I had to give them emergency contacts. Who did you list? Amanda hesitated. An old friend of Hyunwoo's, someone he said I could trust if anything went wrong. Jin felt his stomach drop. Name. Kang Minyu. The room went silent. Tell me you're joking, Jin said slowly. You know him. Know him? He was my father's right hand. He's the one who took over the Busan operations after Hyunwoo died. Jin ran a hand through his hair. He's also the one who's been pushing to expand our territory into areas my father explicitly forbade. Amanda's face went pale. Hyunwoo said he was like a brother to him. People change, especially when there's power involved. Jin moved closer. Did you contact him when you arrived? No, I just listed him as an emergency contact on the agency forms in case something happened to me and Ade needed. She stopped. The agency. What about them? They do background checks, verify emergency contacts. Amanda's breathing quickened. If they called Minyu to verify my information, he'd know you're in Seoul, Jin finished, and if he's the one asking questions. They stared at each other as the implications sank in. Why would he be looking for you? Jin asked. I don't know. Think, Amanda. Did Hyunwoo ever mention Minyu being there the night he died? She closed her eyes, clearly trying to remember. Hyunwoo called me that night, around 10. He said he was meeting someone to settle the territorial dispute. He sounded nervous but wouldn't tell me details. He just said. Her voice cracked. He said if anything happened, I should take Ade and disappear. That Minyu would help me if I needed it. But you never contacted him. Your father told me not to trust anyone in the organization, so I didn't. Smart woman, Jin thought. There's something else, Amanda said quietly. The day your father came to see me after the funeral, he asked me if Hyunwoo had given me anything. Documents, flash drives, anything. I said no. Had he? Amanda bit her lip. I need to know I can trust you first. I'm the only one standing between you and whoever's hunting you. Trust is all you have right now. She studied his face for a long moment, then walked back into the guest room. Jin heard her rummaging through her bag. When she returned, she was holding a small USB drive. Hyunwoo gave this to me the week before he died. He said if anything happened to him, I should keep it safe and never tell anyone about it, not even your father. Jin took the drive carefully. Do you know what's on it? No, I was too afraid to look. I thought if I didn't know, I couldn't be forced to tell anyone. Jin pulled out his laptop, then paused. Whatever's on here might change everything. I know. He plugged in the drive. The folder contained dozens of files, financial records, encrypted messages, photos of documents. Jin's blood turned to ice as he started reading. What is it? Amanda asked. Evidence. Jin's voice was hollow. Evidence that someone in our organization was embezzling millions, moving money through shell companies, bribing officials, working with our enemies. Who? Jin clicked on a video file. Security footage from what looked like a restaurant. 2 men sitting at a table. One was Hyunwoo. The other was Kang Minyu. Jin turned up the volume. The audio was muffled but clear enough. Can't keep covering for you, Hyunwoo was saying. Father's getting suspicious. Then don't tell him. Minyu's voice was cold. We both know what happens if this comes out. I have a family now, a son. I can't. You should have thought of that before you got involved. Minyu leaned forward. You take this to your father, and I'll make sure that American whore and her bastard child disappear. Understand? Jin watched his brother's face go hard. You threaten them again, Hyunwoo said quietly, and I'll kill you myself. The video ended. Amanda had her hand over her mouth. Oh God, Hyunwoo knew. He knew Minyu was stealing, and Minyu killed him for it. Not just stealing. Jin was clicking through more files. He was working with the Gwangju crew, the ones who wanted to take over our Busan territory. Hyunwoo must have found out and confronted him. The territorial dispute, Amanda whispered. It wasn't random. Minyu set it up. Jin's hands were shaking with rage. My father blamed the Gwangju crew. We went to war over it. Dozens died. He looked at Amanda. And Minyu played grieving friend the whole time. Why didn't your father suspect him? Because Minyu was smart. He made sure he was in Seoul that night, surrounded by witnesses, the perfect alibi. Jin's jaw clenched. And my father trusted him completely. If your father found out later. He didn't. He died thinking the Gwangju crew killed his son. Jin's voice was bitter. Minyu won. He got away with it. Until now, Amanda said. If he knows I'm in Seoul, if he even suspects I have this. He'll come for you, Jin stood abruptly. Both of you. As if on cue, his phone rang. Unknown number. Jin answered, putting it on speaker. Hyunim asterisk. The voice was smooth, familiar. Minyu. I hope I'm not calling too late. What do you want? I heard an interesting rumor today about an American woman working in your home with a young boy. Minyu paused. Around 6 years old. Jin's expression didn't change. I don't discuss my staff with you. Of course not, but I thought you should know. This woman might not be who she claims. I knew someone once who fits her description. Someone connected to Hyunwoo. Is that so? Yes, quite the coincidence, isn't it? Minyu's voice hardened slightly. If it's the same woman, she has something that belongs to the family, something Hyunwoo took before he died. And what would that be? I think you know. The pretense of friendliness dropped completely. Give her to me. Jin, along with whatever Hyunwoo gave her. Do this quietly, and we can all move forward. And if I refuse? Then I'll have to take more direct action. I've already notified the elders that there's a security breach in your household. They'll demand an investigation. And when they find out you're harboring your brother's whore and his illegitimate. Jin ended the call. The room was silent, except for Amanda's rapid breathing. He's coming, she said. Yes. What do we do? Jin looked at her. This woman his brother had loved enough to die protecting. The mother of his nephew. The keeper of secrets that could destroy everything. We fight, he said, but first we run. Run where? The one place mean you can't touch us without declaring open war. Jin was already texting his most trusted men. Busan, we go to my brother's city and we finish what he started. Amanda grabbed his arm. That's suicide. Minyu controls Busan now. Not all of it. There are still people loyal to Hyunwoo, people who never believed the official story. Jin met her eyes. And once they see his son, once they see proof of what Minyu did, they'll turn on him, Amanda finished. Exactly. This is insane. Do you have a better idea? She didn't. From the guest room, Ade called out sleepily, Iyama**, what's happening? Amanda closed her eyes briefly, then straightened her shoulders. When she opened them again, Jin saw something new there, not just fear, but determination. How long do we have? She asked. Until morning, maybe less. Jin was already moving. Pack light, we leave in 20 minutes. Amanda nodded and went to wake her son. Jin made 3 more calls, each shorter than the last. By the time Amanda emerged with a sleepy Ade in her arms and a small backpack, he had a car waiting in the underground garage and a safe house arranged in Busan. Jin, Amanda said as they headed for the elevator. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This gets worse before it gets better. I know, she adjusted Ade's weight on her hip, but you didn't have to help us. You could have handed us over. Your family, Jin said simply, and family protects family. The elevator doors opened. Standing inside was Park, his face grim and a gun in his hand. I'm sorry, Hyunwoo, he said quietly, but I can't let you leave. Jin moved on instinct, pushing Amanda and Ade behind him. Park, put the gun down. I can't do that. Park's hand was steady, but his eyes showed conflict. Minyu called. He knows about the woman and the child. He's offering 20 million won to anyone who brings them in. And you're going to betray me for money. It's not about the money, Park's voice cracked. He has my sister, Hyunwoo. He took her 3 hours ago. He said if I don't deliver them by dawn, He couldn't finish. Jin's mind raced. Park had been with him for 6 years. Loyal, trustworthy, the kind of man who'd take a bullet without hesitation. Why didn't you tell me? Jin asked quietly. He said if I contacted you, she'd die immediately. He's watching everything. Park's gun lowered slightly. Please, I know what they mean to you, but she's my only family. I can't. I understand, Jin said, and he did. That's what made this harder. Jin, don't, Amanda whispered behind him. But Jin was already calculating. Where does he want them delivered? The old fish market in Busan, Pier 7, Park swallowed hard. Alone. That's a kill zone, Jin said. He murders them, then murders you to tie up loose ends. Your sister, too. I know, but what choice do I have? You trust me, Jin said, like you've trusted me for 6 years. Park's expression was agonized. How? How do I trust you in my sister's life? Because I'm going to save her. Jin pulled out his phone slowly. But I need you to lower that gun and help me do it. For a long moment, Park didn't move. Then, slowly, the gun dropped. What's the plan? He asked. The drive to Busan took 4 hours. Jin drove while Park sat in the passenger seat, coordinating with the 3 men Jin trusted most, all former loyalists of Hyunwoo who'd been quietly watching Minyu for years. Amanda sat in the back with Ade sleeping against her shoulder, her eyes fixed on the dark highway. Tell me about Hyunwoo, Jin said quietly. Amanda looked up, surprised. What do you want to know? Everything, what he was like with you. She was silent for a moment. He was gentle, funny. He'd come home exhausted from whatever he'd been doing. He never told me details, and he'd still dance around the kitchen with me while I cooked. He learned to make Seoul food because he wanted Ade to know both cultures. Jin felt something twist in his chest. That wasn't the Hyunwoo he remembered, the reckless younger brother who took stupid risks and made their father furious. He was different with you, Jin said. Maybe, or maybe he was finally himself. Amanda's voice softened. He said the organization made him into someone he hated, that he was tired of the violence, the lies. He wanted to leave. Leave, Park turned around, shocked. Hyunwoo wanted out. Yes, he said after he dealt with Minyu, he was going to take me and Ade somewhere safe. Start over. Her eyes filled with tears. He died trying to protect us from a life he never wanted his son to have. Jin's hands tightened on the steering wheel. All this time, he'd thought Hyunwoo was just careless. But his brother had been trying to escape, and it had cost him everything. I won't let his death be meaningless, Jin said. I promise you that. They reached Busan just before dawn. The city was waking up, fishing boats heading out to sea, vendors setting up for the morning market. Jin drove past the old fish market to a small house on the outskirts, one of Hyunwoo's properties that Minyu didn't know about. Inside, 3 men were waiting. They stood when Jin entered, their eyes immediately going to Amanda and Ade. Hyunnim asterisk, the oldest one said. His name was Cho and he'd been Hyunwoo's mentor. Is it true this is Hyunwoo's woman? Yes, and his son. Cho approached Amanda slowly, his weathered face full of emotion. You're the one he talked about, the one he was going to bring home. Amanda nodded, tears streaming down her face. Cho knelt in front of Ade, who'd woken up and was clinging to his mother. He has Hyunwoo's eyes, he said hoarsely. Same stubborn look. We don't have time for reunions, Jin said, though his voice was gentler than usual. Park's sister is being held at one of Minyu's warehouses. We need to extract her before the meeting. Which warehouse? Asked Lee, the second man. We don't know yet, Park. Park pulled out his phone, opening a text from Minyu. He sent a photo 30 minutes ago. She's tied to a chair, but I can't identify the location. Lee looked at the photo and swore. That's the warehouse on Jungang-daro. I'd recognize that concrete anywhere. How many men? Jin asked. Usually 4 guards, but if Minyu's expecting trouble, could be 8 or 10. We have 90 minutes before the exchange, Jin said. Cho, you and Park extract his sister. Lee and Minho, you're with me at the pier. We set up a perimeter before Minyu arrives. What about them? Minho gestured to Amanda and Ade. They stay here with. No, Amanda interrupted. If I don't show up at the pier, Minyu will know it's a trap. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. Amanda stood, still holding Ade. But Minyu expects a scared woman running for her life. If I'm not there, he'll disappear and we'll never get another chance. She was right, and Jin hated it. Ade stays here, he said firmly. Amanda looked at her son, who was watching them with wide eyes. Baby, you're going to stay with these nice men for a little while, okay? I want to stay with you, Ade said in Korean. I know, but Iyama needs to do something important, something your daddy would have wanted. Ade's lower lip trembled. Is it dangerous? A little, but Uncle Jin will protect me. She glanced at Jin, and he saw the trust there, fragile but real. You promise you'll come back? Ade asked. I promise. Amanda hugged him tight. And when I do, we're going to eat all the ****Sayat Hadiak you can handle. She handed Ade to Cho, who held the boy gently despite his rough appearance. Ade didn't cry, but his eyes never left his mother. If anything happens to her, Jin said quietly to his men, protect him with your lives, understood? They nodded. The old fish market was exactly as Jin remembered, weathered piers stretching into dark water, rusted shipping containers stacked haphazardly, the smell of salt and decay. Perfect for an ambush. Jin and his men arrived an hour early, taking positions on the surrounding rooftops and behind containers. Amanda waited with Jin near Pier 7, her face pale but determined. You don't have to do this, Jin said. Yes, I do, for Hyunwoo, for Ade. She met his eyes, for the chance at a normal life. After today, normal might not be possible. I stopped believing in normal the day I fell in love with a mobster. Her smile was sad. I just want my son to be safe. Jin's phone buzzed. A text from Park, sister secured, on our way out. One problem solved. He's here, Lee's voice came through Jin's earpiece. 3 black cars pulled up to the pier. Minyu stepped out of the middle one, flanked by 8 men. He was smiling. Jin, Minyu called out, and the lovely Amanda, how wonderful to see you both. Let's skip the pleasantries, Jin said. You wanted her, here she is. Indeed, Minyu walked closer, his men fanning out. But I notice she doesn't have what I asked for. Where's the drive, Amanda? In a safe place, Amanda said, her voice surprisingly steady. That's unfortunate, because the deal was the drive in exchange for your lives. The deal, Jin said coldly, is you confessing what you did to my brother. Minyu's smile didn't waver. I have no idea what you mean. Don't you? Jin pulled out his phone and played the security footage, Minyu threatening Hyunwoo, mentioning Amanda and Ade. Minyu's expression flickered. Clever, but what does that prove? A conversation taken out of context. Context like you embezzling millions, working with the Gwangju crew, setting up my brother to be murdered. Even if that were true, and I'm not saying it is, who would believe you? The elders trust me. I've made them all very wealthy. Minyu's eyes hardened. You, on the other hand, are harboring a foreigner and her bastard child, putting sentiment over business. Your father would be ashamed. My father, Jin said quietly, would have killed you himself if he'd known the truth. But he didn't, and now he's dead, just like Hyunwoo, just like you're about to be. Minyu raised his hand, signaling his men. But Jin was faster. Now, he said into his earpiece. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions. Minyu's men scattered, returning fire, but Jin's people had the high ground. 2 of Minyu's men dropped immediately. Jin grabbed Amanda and pulled her behind a container as bullets pinged off metal. His heart was pounding, not from fear, but from rage. Stay down, he ordered. But when he looked back, Amanda was gone. He spotted her running toward one of the cars, zigzagging to avoid bullets. What was she doing? Then he saw it, a small figure in the backseat of Minyu's car. Ade. No, Jin breathed. Minyu had brought the boy as insurance. Amanda reached the car and yanked the door open, pulling Ade into her arms. But Minyu was already there, grabbing her hair and pressing a gun to her temple. Cease fire, Minyu shouted. Everyone stop or I kill them both. The shooting stopped. Jin stepped out from cover, his gun trained on Minyu. Let them go. I don't think so, Minyu smiled. See, I realized something. Dead, they're martyrs. Alive, they're leverage. So here's the new deal. You give me the drive, resign from the organization, and disappear. In exchange, I let them live. You'll kill them anyway. Maybe, maybe not. But right now, this is the only offer they've got. Jin looked at Amanda, terrified but fierce, holding Ade against her chest. The boy was crying silently, his face buried in his mother's shoulder. Jin thought of Hyunwoo, of promises made to the dead. He lowered his gun. All right, he said, you win. Minyu's smile widened. I knew you'd. The gunshot echoed across the pier. Minyu jerked, his eyes going wide. The gun fell from his hand as he stumbled backward. Amanda was holding Jin's backup pistol, the one he'd slipped into her jacket pocket before they arrived. Minyu collapsed, blood spreading across his chest. He looked up at Amanda in shock. You said you'd kill my son, Amanda said quietly. That's not something I forgive. Minyu's men started to raise their weapons, but Cho's voice rang out from behind them. Anyone moves, and you all die. A dozen more men emerged from the shadows, all of Hyunwoo's old crew, all loyal to his memory. Minyu's men lowered their guns. Jin walked over to where Minyu lay gasping. He knelt down, his expression cold. My brother's last words were about protecting them, Jin said softly. I intend to honor that, every single day. Minyu tried to speak, but only blood came out. Jin stood and walked to Amanda, who was shaking violently. He gently took the gun from her hand. It's over, he said. Ade looked up at Jin with tearful eyes. Is the bad man gone? Jin knelt down to the boy's level, his nephew's level. Yes, he said. He's gone, and I promise no one will ever threaten you or your mother again. Ade studied him seriously. Are you really my uncle? I am. My daddy's brother. Yes. Ade reached out and touched Jin's face with one small hand. You look sad like him, like in Iyama's asterisk pictures. Jin's throat tightened. He pulled both Ade and Amanda into an embrace. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't know about you sooner. Amanda was crying against his shoulder. What happens now? Jin pulled back, his mind already working through the implications. Minyu was dead, but his allies in the organization wouldn't accept this quietly. There would be questions, investigations, possibly war. But Jin had evidence, witnesses, and most importantly, he had the truth. Now, he said, we rebuild the right way.